Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Leading Ishmas, Imi Mirasi Ruspas Mordechai. Today's shir is sponsored by Mark Kantor, Lzechus Zaydie, Moshe Shmuel, Yisroel Safrin, and Ish Emes. In honor of Yisroel Safrin, Yisroel Chaim, who has tirelessly worked to bring the family history to print in the life and legacy of Clara Safrin. By Ari Blum, the one and only, as a zechus, Refuah Shlema, for Chaim David ben Chava, Shira Miraim Bas Raizel Gidol, Lzechus Shidduch. Shimon Segelman, Refuah Shlema for TZVI ZAVEL ben CHANA GITTEL DEVASHA, having surgery today. Leading Mas Rashi HaKadosh, Harav Shlomo ben Harav Yitzchak, Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, by Mayor Planka, Mazel Tov to MDY family on the Siyum of Yoma. Welcome to all the new family members, especially Shalom Breitman. What a shout out. Thank you, Rebelli and the team. Leading Harav Shmuel Tzvi ben Harav Yaakov Berkovitz, his first yortzeit is this Shabbos. And by Shlomo Gewirtzman, for a big shout out to my little brother, Fry Gewirtzman, starting Succah while being in the hospital. He's a big role model for all of us, learning Torah even when he's in the hospital. Rabbi Sai, we had a phenomenal siyum last night. 120 people showed up to the kaisel. It was just amazing. The food was amazing. The camaraderie, the speeches. We had Reb David Orlovsky speak. We had Mark Ashkenazi and Uncle Phil, who flew in from America to attend the siyum. They both spoke, one in the beginning, one at the end. Amazing speeches. I was presented by a model of the Beis Hamikdash, this big, a beautiful, beautiful piece. Here is the picture. No, it's not a backdrop. This is the real kaisel. So amazing. Yishkoyach for everybody for attending. Emir Hashem, next siyum, we should be even larger. Here is a siyum that took place in the tri-state area. Also, about 100 people showed up to this siyum. I got to speak to them at 4:30 in the morning by us. I want to welcome the new faces in the room. And I want to welcome, you're not going to believe this. It's hard to understand. It's not a shocker because we built up to it. But over 1,500 new people who received Gemaras or are going to receive Gemaras. And in addition to that, hundreds others who didn't want a Gemara who are joining right now. So we have, let's call it 2,000 new people right now that are watching today's shir. So I want to say, welcome to the family. There are two tzaddikim in New York, Yossi Klein and Hassan Gans from Ami Magazine, who worked hours upon hours, even though they have full-time jobs, just to get this done. And they did an amazing job getting this done. The goal was 1,500. This morning, 1,515 Gemaras. A half a year ago, they came up with this. It's unbelievable. I believe that this is the first time in history that so many people are coming together from all parts of the world to learn Torah together and to have Gemilas Chasadim and Avodah. Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim all together. I don't know if there was such a thing. I don't know if it was even available to connect like that. The best way to connect HaKadosh Baruch Hu is learning Torah. But if you add to that Gemilas Chesed, like we have over here, the chesed, we're not going to go into the stories, but as you watch the shiurim, you see what's going on. People from different places helping others and sending others. And the tefillah that we do, somebody paid $1,000 that when we turn the daf, we say, L'refuas t'chaylim, and the people just join up to daven because the people davening the entire time, part of the MDY family. Masechah Sukkah. If you took a poll, probably the most popular Masechta out there. It brings back such amazing memories when you're young. Everybody learned the Masechta and made models. And just Chag Sukkos, the amazing Yontiv of Sukkos. Going to the Sukkah, it's a lot of people, it's their favorite Yontiv. It's the only mitzvah, Sukkah, If you think about it, it's the only mitzvah that you take your entire body with your clothing, with your shoes, and you go into the mitzvah. And Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Okay, coming off the plane. Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. The second mitzvah. All right, we'll argue about that later. We had a tremendous Hashgacha Pratis this cycle. We finished Masechtas Pesachim just 2 or 3 days before Pesach. And anybody that finished Masechtas Pesachim before Pesach knows that it was a different Pesach entirely. The way you ate your matzah was different. The way you ate your maror, the heseva that we did, different halachas that we learned in every area of Pesach, the arba koisas, everything, charaisis, whatever it was. Our Rosh Hashanah this year, we learned 2 dapim about Rosh Hashanah. It was a tremendous Hashgacha Pratis. And now, once again, this year, we're going to be finishing Masechtas Sukkah right before Sukkahs. And Be'ezer Hashem is going to give us a completely different understanding what Sukkah is, what Sukkah is. It's the Yontiv, Vayisa Ach Sameach, the Yontiv that you're mechuyev to be besimcha the entire Yontiv. That's why people love Sukkah so much. Why did so many people join? I don't think it was the free Gemara. So many people joined because they want to enhance their life. They want to make their lives better. They want to add Torah to their life. Everybody wants to add Torah. Everybody wants to have a better connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And what better way than through Torah? A lot of people ask, what about Shabbos? What happens on Shabbos? I'll tell you. If you live in Eretz Yisrael, there's a shir every month of Shabbos, approximately an hour after Shabbos. But if you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, that shir is recorded and could be found all these 3 in the morning, Rabbi say, after the siyum. Torah anytime. All daf, the OU. YouTube. Podcasts. Our app. Our website. Kol Shon. On Zoom. I highly recommend this. If you're up, try it. Because there's nothing like the achtos, and you get to know people, and it's unbelievable. And now we just started a WhatsApp group yesterday. And I think there's over 1,000 people that signed up in one day. So, WhatsApp group, you get the share, boom, right to your phone. And now, for the list that everybody loves, but I changed it up for the Ilam here. What are the pros and cons of Daf Yomi? Think about it. You already saw the sign. You already know it. What would you say? All right, so the Yetzer Hara says, he tries to talk you out of it. Especially if you learned in yeshivas, and you learned really slow and a lot of lumdas and a lot of... So the Yetzer Hara tells you, it's better not to learn at all than to do the daf. Why? Because you don't retain anything. Oh, it's a big avera to forget your Torah, you know? You don't retain. I'm going to learn with the chavrusa. That chavrusa never happens, and it's twice a week. Sometimes you don't retain. It's too fast. Lumdus is the right way because we were ingrained in yeshiva all those years. Lumdus. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying we as Balabatim, this is what we have. We start off our day with Torah. We're going to get into that in a second. And here's the biggest Yetzer Hara of all. If you could overcome this, from the 2,000 people, new guys today, how many are going to finish the Masechta? How many? Now, the Masechta is only 56 daf, and if you do it every single day for 56 days, you're going to build a new, a new habit. A new habit, 56 days, close to 60. But why is it that not everybody makes it through the 56 days? Everybody wants them. The first day, we're going to do it. What happens? This is one of the biggest problems. Especially today. We're starting on a Friday, probably the worst day of the week to start a Masechta. But it's good. We'll get used to it. Why? Because then comes Shabbos. What do you do Shabbos? I don't know. It's not live. And then you miss a day. So come Sunday, what are you going to do? you're probably going to try to make up Shabbos' daf. And that's a big no-no. So train yourself right away. So if you miss daf gimel, skip it right away. Skip it. Go to daf dalet. And the catchphrase is, learn now, catch up later. It's an amazing trick. Anybody that tries it succeeds, and anybody that fights it fails. I've had a number of guys, stubborn perfectionists, that try to make it up and they never do. A guy came last night to the Siyum. I fought with him for 3 months. He said he's giving in. He's going to start Sukkah now. But for 3 months, I keep on calling him up. No, how is it to catch up? Yeah, soon, next week. Never happens. Write it down. You'll make it up later. Now, a lot of people are worried about Shas. What about Shas? You guys are going to finish in brachas. We just started. It's 550 daf into Shas. You know what the answer is? Shas is a Ferris wheel. Wherever you get on, that's where you get off. Your siyum is going to be at the end of the Yoma. My siyum and Noam's siyum, you learn Torah every single day. On Shabbos also, believe it or not. And Erev Shabbos too, and on Sundays. And on Yom Kippur and on Tisha B'Av. We are going to learn Matzah Tisha B'Av here. We're going to learn Matzah Yom Kippur. Chalamai, there's no Chalamai trips. Because we learn every single day. You can have a trip, but you bring your Gemara with you. There's plenty of trips. Now, the daf will make you a better person. Everybody says it. They feel better about themselves. Their spouses see it in them. Their children see it in them. And it creates camaraderie and achdus like no other. You'll be here for 2 days. You'll see the achdus. The crazy achdus. Last night at the Siyum, there's a guy I'm very friendly with. I worked for his father in Chicago. He came in with a ponytail. His head was shaved like this with a kippas ruga. And he sat inches away from a Hasidic younger man that didn't take off his biber hit the entire Siyum. Sat inches away. That younger man, by the way, got a 98 on his dirshu test, that Hasidic guy. But that's the achdus that we have here. There's no problem. We're all one. We all know it. We're in this for the same reason. And finally, Shas has everything in it. Gemara has Kabbalah, and it has Torah, Nevim, Ksuvim, and it has Allah, it has everything. So when you learn Gemara, and that's in the Rishayim, that's why we learn Gemara today. Every daf has a new concept, almost every daf. You'll see things that you've never dreamt of every single day. This is a big one. People notice and they send in pictures all the time. It's the first time in their lives that when they go on a plane, instead of watching movies, they're learning Gemara. Instead of waiting for their car to be fixed, they're opening up a Gemara. Wherever they are, they're opening Gemara. Not because they feel forced, because they want to. They want to catch up. They want to be part of it. And there's nothing like, especially if you learn in the morning, there's nothing like starting your day with the Daf Yomi. And finally, I know we're going to start soon in a second. When you make that daily commitment, many other things in your life change as well. All of a sudden, you start doing Shnai Mikra Echad Targum. And even in Gashmias, you're better on your diet. It gives you that consistency. You become a better person. Rabbi Sai, let's jump into it. I have no idea what time it is. Is it almost over? Wow. Okay, so we have 6 minutes to do Amud Aleph, and then we're going to go real slow on Amud Beis. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. Sukkah shigavoya l'malam eser mama. The sukkah that it says in the Torah that you should make, that's taller than 20 amma. Baruch Hashem for Kol Halashon, who put out this book, this amazing book, and we have permission to use their pictures. 20 amma is approximately 40 feet. Let's just round it out. 40-foot sukkah is hustle according to the Tanakama. Psula. Rebbe Yehuda Machshir, and Rebbe Yehuda argues and he says it's kosher. We don't really need pictures for this, but if they made it, they worked so hard on it, we might as well show them. Have you ever seen a sukkah that's less than 10 tefachim? Here you go. So instead of me building these models, we'll use these beautiful pictures. By the way, I have to say, Yeshua Aaron Price, who's a huge, huge part of the shir, you're going to hear from him, he finished Masechta Sukkah 100 times. Below Guzma. I myself was at 4 of his siyumim. He used to finish it almost every 2 or 3 days. That's how well he knows Sukkah. You're going to hear from him, trust me. He's going to scream out from the back. Ashtaras Kernayim. Here we go. If the sukkah does not have 3 walls, something like this, it could be either one here, and it goes right through, or it's just an L shape. Doesn't have three walls. Now, that Raizel says that the reason why a sukkah needs two walls and a tefach, because it resembles HaKadosh Baruch Hu hugging us. It's like this. It's two walls and a little bit. It's a hug from Hashem. And if more sunlight comes in to the sukkah than shade, it's here somewhere, but okay, we'll find it later. Hustle. There's a Rashi here. Rashi says, Hamuad batel b'roiv. You know why it's no good? Because the little schach that you have is batel b'roiv. V'areihu k'mi she'einoi. And therefore, it's as if you don't have schach at all. Now, why can't Rashi just say, there's more sun than shade? And that's possible. Why is it? There's not enough schach. Why do you have to say there's no schach at all? So, if you learned in Chavetz Chaim, that question alone takes about 2 months. If you learned in other yeshivas, that question is a 2-week question. That we sat on the question in Pesach for 2 weeks. Daf Yomi, in our shir, 20 seconds. In everybody else's shir, 0. Next. I don't have all day. You know what? We learned it so much, I don't even know what the answer is. No clue. So not awesome. We learned Eruvin, Rabbi Isai. We had 700 and something pictures from Masechtas Eruvin. I don't want to scare you. That's not the whole Masechta. But this is literally word for word in the beginning of Masechtas Eruvin as well. What's a mavoi? A mavoi is an alleyway. In the time of the Gemara, people had homes, and they had a chutzner in front of their home. And the chutzner led in to an alley. Now, this alley is closed off on 3 sides. So therefore, Miraim, you could carry from here to here, no problem. But Rabbanan said, it looks too much like you are walking into Rosh Hashanah. You cannot do that. You can't walk, you can't carry from here to here. So what do? You have to make some sort of an eruv, a shitufim mevais. But in addition to that, so that you don't spatzir and walk this way into the Rosh Hashanah, here's the big street, so you have to make 2 akerim, 1 of the 2 akerim. You could either, here's my Chamas Merubim Tzilasa picture, just in case anybody wants to see what it looks like. Either you make a lechi, you put a little piece of wood over here. It could be a kolshu, it doesn't have to be any size, it could be a little sliver of wood, and people realize, hey, this is the end, the Rosh Hashanah begins. Or another thing you could do is put up a kaira, a beam, from side to side, and people know not to walk into the Rosh Hashanah. I mean carry. Can't carry. Okay. So the Mishnah over there says, very similar to our Mishnah over here. Says the same thing. Instead of a sukkah, you have a mavoi. Here it is. You have a 20 amma tall, and you want to put a kaira over here. Now the people down here don't really see what's going on up here, maybe. So it says over there in the Mishnah, you might make it lower than 20. You don't have to make it lower. It's fine. Ask the Gemara, why is it that over there it gives you an eitzah what to do? You know, when I moved to Yisroel, I wanted a sign for my door, Stefansky, put it on the door. So I go out over here and I tell a guy, I said, where's the sign store? He says, sign store? What do you need a sign for? I said, it's none of your business. I need a sign store. He said, no, tell me why. I said, I want to put my name on my door. He says, what are you, crazy? You're going to go to the sign store? Take a piece of cardboard, write your name, and put on the door. Shkoyach for the eitzah. Shkoyach. Okay. The Satmar Rebbe said, what's the difference between the Eretz Yisrael Dikkas and the Americans? In America, they come to ask him eitzos. And when they're done, they give him money. In Eretz Yisrael, they come to ask for money. And when he's done, they give him eitzos. So over here it says, the Mishnah gives you an eitzah. You have something that's taller than 20 amma, you do it, make it a little lower. Okay? So why not a narrow Mishnah? If you have a tall sukkah, make it lower. The Mishnah doesn't say what to do. Puzzle, end the story. You figure it out yourself. Says the Gemara, Sukkah de'oraisa, tanim psula. Sukkah already told us in the Torah that you have to build a sukkah. Now, if you're going to do it like this and like that, it's puzzle. So I already know what you're talking about. Mavoi derabanan, but the whole mavoi, as we explained, you're allowed to walk from your chutzner into a mavoi. It's just Rabbanan said you should be machmer. So you can't say puzzle. You got to say what a mavoi is, how it works, how tall, and then you can say something. Tani tekanta. V'boy I have another pshat. Bidor raisa nami tani tekanta. No. What? No, because we know the better lashon is just puzzle. But you can't use a lashon of puzzle under the Rabbanan when we don't even know what you're talking about. You just invented it. Chacham just invented it in the Mishnah. So it doesn't make sense to say, puzzle. What is it? It has to be this high, that, you make it lower. No. At the end of the day, the other lashon is better. To tell you what to do is a good idea. There's a bunch of things, 4 things in the Mishnah. Too high, too low, not enough walls, not enough shade. So it's going to start telling you all the things. So it's too many words. Pasuk Tani Psula, at the end of the day, it says pasuk. Mavi dilanafish milei, but mavi that only has 2 halachas. Can't be this wide and can't be this tall. But one word answers them both. Tani Tekanta. The word yimayit explains both. Make the opening less wide, narrower, and make the height lower. Minani mili, how do you know the idea that you need less than 20 amma? So now we have 3-way machloikis. You guys remember the sugya from yeshiva? Omer Rabba Domakra Leman Yedu Der Seichem Ki Basukos Yishafti Es Bnei Yisrael. Leman Yedu, yeah. Leman Yedu Der Seichem Ki Basukos Yishafti Es Bnei Yisrael. By the way, this is a big chiddush in halacha. Not everybody knows this. Maybe only 10% of the people know this. What do we do when we go into a sukkah? What do we think? We want to be mekayim the mitzvah sukkah. What do we think? Who said eat? Shmuel's in the house. So what do? You walk into the sukkah and you say, I'm going to have kavanah. I'm going to have kavanah to be yaitze the mitzvah of sukkah. That's not what you're supposed to do. If you do it, you might be yaitze, b'diavad. But you should, lechatchila, think to yourself, this is a zecher to the anani hakavod. Klal Yisrael was in the midbar, and they had the clouds. That's why I'm sitting in the sukkah. It says in the pasuk, "Leman yedu da'risechem ki basukah yishafti bnei Yisrael." So the Gemara is learning it that you not thinking about the midbar so much, but thinking about now. What are you doing right now? Now I'm sitting inside the sukkah. You need to know it. Leman yedu, you should know that you're sitting in a sukkah. Until 20 amma, you realize you're sitting in the schach. Now, sukkah, by the way, for the most part, is not so much the walls and the decorations on the walls. Sukkah is the schach. Now, if you know that you're in the schach, that's the sukkah. If you think that you're in the walls, that's not enough. Lighter, sukkah, whatever, that doesn't mean anything. Since it's so tall, so high, you don't see the schach because your eyes don't follow all the way up there. It's too high for Chacham or Kiveya, it's 20 am. That's one shot, so that's Rab. The sukkah, it's a pasuk in Yeshaya. The sukkah should be for shade during the day when it's very, very hot. So in other words, the schach has to create shade. So I'm telling you like this. Think about it, especially in the time of the season of sukkahs, the sun is never directly above a sukkah. The sun is slightly to the north, comes around east to the west, and a little bit to the north, but never directly above. So, if you have a very tall thing and the sun is from the side, the schach is not going to provide any shade. The walls might, but not the schach. It's the wall that creates the shade. Imagine. You're in Manhattan, on the west side of Manhattan by the Twin Towers, and you build a tiny little Sukkah, right below the Twin Towers. You have all the shade from the Twin Towers. Your sukkah does 0. You're in the Asher's Karnaim. You're in this, between the mountains. You're in a valley. So you have 0 shade. That your sukkah is not creating shade. The shade is created by the tall mountains. What? Your sukkah has to create shade? Amalei, he says, beautiful. If the Twin Towers fall down, your sukkah is providing shade. It just happens to be there's something next to it today that is not allowing it to provide shade. But theoretically, it could create shade. In this sukkah that's more than 20 amas, it never, ever can create shade. No matter where you put it, it can't create shade because the sun is from the side. And Rava says the third pshat. You're supposed to sit in the sukkah for 7 days. We see from this pasuk that you have to leave your permanent house and go into a temporary house. Up until 20 amma, you can create 40-foot sukkah. So we could get away with a few thin plywood boards, whatever, make it up to 40 feet. The only way to build is with cement, the metal, and therefore, that's not what the Torah is saying. The Torah is saying you have to live in a temporary house. So we're going to qualify this for a second. What if you did? A lot of people have cement walls and they put the Succah in the dining room. What? That's apostle sukkah? This is what I meant to tell you. There's a concept in Shas called with a lamed. If you could mix it, then you don't have to mix it. If you could build it, then you don't have to build it. If you could build a temporary sukkah made out of temporary material, then even if you build it with permanent material like metal, then it's still kosher. But it has to be within that limit. You don't have to go ahead and build it like that, but you have to be able to build it like that. So, a person above 20 amma, even if you build it out of paper more than 20 amma, it's still possible. Why? Because since you have to build it out of metal, that's the only way to build something permanent. So even if you used weak materials, then it's still possible. We just turned to Daf Amud Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim group. For all those who need shidduchim, refuahs, and yeshuas, please join tehillim.8mindaf.com. I was with one of the guys the other day, and I see him on his phone saying Tehillim because of this. I didn't realize it goes around the clock. You say what Tehillim? Like those women's group. We have it also. Kula kerabba lo yamri. Rabbi says, Leman Yedu. You need to be in the sukkah and know that you're in the sukkah. Ahu yidia l'doirasi. That's the halacha, that when you're sitting in a sukkah, think about the ananei hakavod. Why are you thinking that the pshat is that right now, you have to know you're in a sukkah? You don't have to know now that you're in a sukkah. You have to think about the midbar, going back. Yidia l'doirasi. Reb Zera says that a sukkah has to provide shade, and if it's higher than 20 amos, it doesn't provide shade. That pasuk Yishai is not talking about today. So Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to make a sukkah that provide shade. You're right, but I can learn two things. First of all, the time of Mashiach, like you said, but there's another halacha here in the pasuk. It should say the word chuppah instead of chuppah. It says sukkah. I can learn from here also the halacha that it must provide shade. Rava says that you should leave your permanent house and go to a temporary house. Because the Gemara felt that Abaye's question is a bomb question. So what? You can't build out of metal? And his teretz wasn't such a great teretz. And Memela, the Gemara says that's why the others don't learn like Rava. Kiman Azla. So now, Rav, the Goladar, in Bavel, we just had him yesterday in Yoma. Oy, I miss Yoma already. Sukkah is also. I'm serious. Sukkah is Gishmak. but it just means we're one step closer to Yevamis. But when we get to Yevamis, I'm going to tell you how easy Yevamis is. You have nothing to worry about. We got all the props already ready. But what's going to happen now is 3 Talmidim of Rav are going to say 3 completely different things. How does that happen? Maybe based on what we just learned, the 3 shittas that we just learned. Each one had this sheet in his mind, and that's what he heard his Rebbe say. He thought that that's what he heard. I'm just throwing this out there. Well, you have 3 Talmidim quoting the Rebbe completely different. Again, we have Rabbi Yoshia, the Talmud of Rav, Omer Rav. That what? Machloikes b'she'ein defanois migyos l'schach. The whole machloikes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan on whether a sukkah could be more than 20 amas is only when the walls are down here. But if the walls go all the way up, then there's no machloikes. Everybody holds that it's a great sukkah even if it's 50 amma. Think about it. Who could this go according to? Does this have anything to do with a permanent sukkah and not a permanent sukkah? No. Does this have anything to do with shade? No, because we're talking about walls now. So what does this have to do with? It has to do with remembering that you're inside a sukkah. Now, if the walls stop halfway up, your eye goes to the top of the wall and stops there. You never continue going up, so you don't know that you're in a sukkah. But if the walls go all the way to the schach, so regardless the height, your eyes naturally are going to just follow the wall all the way up. And memela, it's kosher. That's perfect. That fits right into Rabba. Since, let's see if we have a picture here. Chaval to just print. Oh. Yeah, here. Great picture. Here you have the guy wanted to save on his material. It's very stable. And it's very eerie, actually. A lot of air comes in because he put the schach very far away. He's sitting down here. Here's the walls. And the walls don't reach the top. So what happens when he sits here? He doesn't realize where the schach is. I could follow this pole. It's like, this is a sukkah that everybody would actually look at the schach because it's so interesting. But we got to, practically speaking, this is no good. However, if the tfanos come all the way to the schach, then your eye follows. Now, Kimanaz lo Omer Rav, Omer Rav Huna, Omer Rav. Another Talmud comes Rav Huna in the name of the same Rabbi Rav. Machlokes b'she'im bo elo arba amos al arba amos. The whole machlokes is when the sukkah is limited to 4 amma by 4 amma. I don't know why this is any different than another picture, but it's a little smaller. It's 4 by 4, 8 feet by 8 feet. That's a machlokes. But if the sukkah was wider, now, does this have to do with construction? How thick? No. Does this have to do with sholta, your eye goes up to the top? No. So what does this have to do with? That if it's wider than 4 amas, everybody agrees it's kosher. This has to do with shade. Since this is wider than 4 amas, it's going to catch the sun. Imagine if you have a sukkah that's 10,000 feet wide. Is it going to create shade on the ground? Absolutely. Because no matter what the angle of the sun is, it's going to create shade somewhere. But it's only because it's 4 amas that it sneaks underneath the schach. But if it's wider than 4 amas, it's going to catch the top. But says Tosfos, it's very obvious, and all the Rishonim talk about it, but Tosfos points it out here, that it must be relative. The height relative to the width. You can't just have a sukkah that's 7,000 amas tall and 4 amas and an inch wide and say, it's not going to create shade. So the width versus the height. Make that cheshbon, whatever the cheshbon is, 20 amas by 4.5 amas wide, that creates shade. So now if you go up to 30 amas, you're going to need 8 amas, whatever it is. Whatever. 6 amas. Okay. I'm not talking to you. You didn't come to the seam last night. I can't. Yeah, well. Oh, I believe you're probably in America. No, what's your kasha? I thought, I hear, because if naturally you're going to follow walls, that's just the way it is. So you're going to do anything you can. Where does this wall end? And eventually you're going to hit the schach. I don't know. I hear. If you have a good terrace, let me know. Kim Anazli wants to know, just in case you didn't hear, he wants to know if it's a very narrow sukkah, maybe it does have to do with seeing the schach because it's so narrow you can't like bend over and look down. Okay, whatever. Kim Anazli Hodom Rav Chanon Bar Rabba Omar Rav. He says this is Tosfos. I in the Tosfos. Kim Anazli Hodom Rav Chanon Bar Rabba Omar Rav. Again, another Talmud. Machloikis b'she'eno machzekes elo kedei roishe v'rubai. The whole machloikis is when it's a tiny, narrow sukkah, a 7x7. Look at this. Wow, this is a great picture. 7x7 sukkah. That's where the machloikis is. But anything wider than that, it's great. I was like, if it could hold, Rashi explains in those days, what's roish v'rubai? If your head is here and you're sitting like this, then it's roishai. Rubai because they used to lean. So it's your body and your head. Okay, fine. Remember on Pesach we lean, so you're taking up room to the side, to the width. Everybody agrees that if it's wider than this tiny little sukkah, says the Gemara, this doesn't fit into anything. So, what does that mean? So, what's the problem here with the sukkah? So, Tosfos says, Lul shetar negolim. This is a chicken coop. Gevaldik. Brings back great memories. This is where maybe the whole, I live in such a tiny home, it's like a chicken coop. Chicken coop, it's very narrow and tall. And that's the psul. But anything wider than that is kosher. Bishleim the Rabbi Yoshia pligi adarav huna. So Rabbi Yoshia says that you need the walls to come up to the schach. If the walls don't come up to the schach, there's a machlokes, and if the walls come up to the schach, there's no machlokes. So he argues on the other two. What do the other two say? There's no machlokes if it's more than 7. There's no machlokes if it's more than 4. But they're talking about width. Okay, so one says it's the 7 width, the other one says 4. But he says something completely different. He's in a different area at all. He's talking about the walls, not the width. They're talking about the width. He's not talking about the width. Okay, but now let's talk about him. Where's the... Okay, you know what it looks like. This sukkah and the one that was... Let's see if I have it here. Yeah, here we go. Like this. Okay. These two, machlokes, in a little tiny one. No, I'm missing something. Okay. This is the 4 amma one. What happened to my 7 tefachim one? Hold on. Okay, this appeared. Oh, you know, it's over here. That's why. Okay. Here we go. You see, there's hardly a difference here. One says the machlokes is anything less than this, and one says the machlokes is anything less than this. But basically, they're arguing, l'chayra, what is the minimum of a sukkah? He says the minimum is 7x7. So Mela, the machlokes is anything less than this. And he says the minimum of a sukkah is 4x4 amas, and therefore the machlokes. But it's the same kind of svara. All they're arguing is what size sukkah. The and we in fact passing like this. What's the minimum of a sukkah? 7. Zayin al Zayin says Yeshua. So that's the minimum, that's the halacha. So what is the machlokes? So what's the machlokes? The marsava b'machzekes roish v'ruv shulchani pligi avayosem roish v'ruv shulchani dirakol Shira. So naturally, if the minimum is 7, so anything above 7, there's no machlokes. That's what he says. Umarsava Ruv says no. Miroish v'ruv shulchani darba amis pligi. The whole machlokes is from 7 to 4 amas. Avayosem arba amos dirakol Shira. Why? Because he's going to stick in the svara of shade. More than 4 amas, it creates shade, and Mamela is not a problem. 4 amas, nothing to do with how wide a sukkah needs to be kosher. He's sticking in a svara of shade. Meisvei. Sukkah shigavoy lamalames ramama psula. Rabbi Yehuda machshir ad arba'im v'chamishim amma. Almost like our Mishnah, just he sticks in 40 and 50. Tais says lavdafka. It means any height. 40, 50, 60, 80. Omer Rabbi Yehuda maisa behilni amalka belud. There's a story with the queen. This sukkah that was more than 20 amas tall. She was a queen, so she sat in a malchus dika, a regal sukkah, 40 feet tall. The skatim, I guess, even though she's a woman, they came to visit her. She's the queen. You have to give cover to malchus. I wonder in England, they visit the queen, the makbid on no, the rabbanim don't. Okay. Today we're firmer than then. Okay, fine. What are you going to bring a raya from there that they didn't go, that they went into a sukkah that was taller than 20 amas? Isha Isa, uptur min sukkah. If a person has a small, tiny porch and he makes a little sukkah, he puts his wife outside, no problem. So she's Hilmi Amalka, so she sits in a sukkah that's more than 20 amas. What's the big problem? She had 7 boys. Void. And another, that's always a big problem in the Gemara. Anytime the Gemara says Void, you know what's coming. Why do you need 2 pshatim? 1 is enough. But she got a hechsher from the rabbis. They would say less than 20 amas. What are you doing? Why would you go above 20? And besides, she had boys, and the boys need a sukkah. Says the Gemara, why do we need that? Says the Gemara, maybe you'll say they're all minors, and they don't need a sukkah. Since she had 7 boys, my mother told me on my mother. She was very friendly with Rabbi Eliyahu Levine's wife. Rabbi Eliyahu Levine's wife said, and don't take anything la halacha from here or the way to act. It's just a funny story to me. They were married for like 9-10 months in Lakewood, and they went to look for an apartment. And the Baldira says, a non-Yid says, whoa, how many children do you have? Says, how many children I have? We just got married 9 months ago. How many children we have? He looks at her, she's not pregnant. Okay, great, fine. He rents her the apartment. And she shows up with triplets. She had triplets 9 months after the chasana. So I was just thinking about it, like, okay, maybe all 7, maybe she had 6 triplets and then she had 1. Okay, the Chacham knew that she had 7 boys and they were all individual births. No, I said Mefurish, don't take any advice from these kind of things. I'm not into that kind of. It's a Gnevasakum, all thing, Gedarshan, whatever. Rabbi Eliyahu Levine is famous in Lakewood. Says the Gemara. Oh, sorry. One of them is a kid that's old enough that doesn't scream "Mommy, Mommy" in the middle of the night, and he'd be chayiv in a sukkah midrabanan for chinuch. And you see, she would have to be mechanechem. And if you'd say that this katan is only midrabanan, and she midrabanan loy mishgecha, she's mashgecha, she doesn't care about the rabbanan, and that's why it says Tashma. She did care about chachamim. Fine, we'll stop here because it's almost a new sugya. Rabbis have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Motzi Shabbos, 9:45. We're changing the clocks in a week. We'll do 9:45. Akdama to that.
Welcome to all the new people.
Rabbi said before Eli Stefansky gets on Zoom and says I can't say anything, I'm Yeshua Aaron Price. I work with Eli all the time. He mentioned me a few times this year. Send down my number.
Who are you?
Everyone here on the group has my number. Send me a message. Where you're from, what you're doing. Welcome to all the new people. I love you all.
He won't spam you. Don't worry.
We love you back, Yehoshua.
Who's this Yehoshua guy?
Email me.
Yeshua's the guy.
Yeah. He says you don't like.
He runs the show.
Who's Yehoshua? Yehoshua runs the whole thing.
What's his name? What's his name again? What's his name?
Yehoshua. Aaron Price.
Yeshua, is it true that you finished the second Succah 100 times?
I've never heard of him before.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and have a good Shabbos, everybody.
Thank you.
Wait, who's this Yeshua, Aaron Price?
Okay. Morning, Rebelli.
You mean about the museum? You saw the celebrities?
I was by to see him. I came to give Marcus Ashkenazi a hug, and I went home.
We're still at 100, by the way.
Do we have a picture?
During the chat, we're still at 100. That's pretty impressive.
Mark, have a good Shabbos.
99.
How many people are on Zoom today?
We got to 192.
192, I think.
Yeah.
I saw over 200.
But after your push, hopefully some of the YouTubers will come on Zoom and we'll make it to 200 a day next week.
No, the YouTubers are guys that are shy guys. They think that if they come on Zoom. I know some of them. They're naturally shy, and they think that if they come on Zoom, they'll be forced to show their face. You know, it's a different experience.
A lot of people have their faces off on Zoom.
How many people were on
Most
YouTube?
majority.
I
think only 9. I was on YouTube. I kept switching back and forth because of the sound. There was only 9 on YouTube from what I saw.
56.
Wasn't good on Zoom. Better on YouTube.
YouTube
dependent. Sounds better on
YouTube. It was
YouTube.
on and off both places.
I'm pretty sure it's the same quality, no?
Yeah, it's been off for 3-4 days now.
Sound was not good.
Ravelli, it was a nice surprise seeing you at the Seal 4:30 in the morning for you.
Yeah, but why is it sound?
He doesn't hear us.
He doesn't hear.
Can't hear him. He can't hear us. It's all good.
He wants to fix the sound. I don't blame him.
Shabbos, good night, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Shabbos, Ben.
We enjoy
everyone. Shabbos, Ben.
We enjoy all the
Good night.
everything.
Visit me.
Shabbos, everyone.
Who's saying?
By the way, Rebelli.
Yeah.
Rebelli, there's another version to the story about the guy renting an apartment. He came to rent an apartment, and the landlord asked the guys, there was a Chassidish couple, he says, you have any kids? They said 9. So he rented to them. And then they rented, and there was 9 kids talking that showed up.
Oh, wow.
Yisroel, I got your email. Yisroel. I don't know when exactly. I got a lot of emails, and I purposely didn't read any today.
No problem. I just thought it was appropriate, for the timing, So don't worry.
Great.
Who's that 414?
You could always put it into your Musa Sefer.
What's Yisroel doing?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Is that a real background, or he's driving?
No, he's driving.
He's driving
back from the mountains.
That's a very cool. That's a cool.
Yisroel's driving from the mountains and he
We
didn't
have
say
a
hi to me.
problem. I had a problem. I went on the 6th. I forgot. On the 6th, it gets shut down. There's no service. So for 6 minutes, I missed out this year. I have to go back to YouTube this morning. I mean,
Yisroel, you can't make a seal.
Don't worry. I'm making a scene Tuesday night in Bistro. I'm making a scene. We have anniversary. Tuesday night, I'm making a siyum on Masechtas Yoma because I was in the country tonight.
So I didn't get the invite.
Bistro Manhattan, 7 o'clock Tuesday night is a siyum.
Wait.
All invited?
With meat.
Why am I on any group right now?
How you doing? If anybody is jealous of a marketeer, today's the perfect day. 44 minutes of sleep.
Get the game out.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it was a nice surprise to see you at the Seal at 4:30 in the morning, Ravelli.
That's why Hashem invented Shabbos.
414, we hear you breathing on the phone.
It was a real nice.
Your Shabbos nap is going to be even more geschmack.
Shabbos nap, doesn't he have to prepare for the Shira for Moshe Shabbat?
What about the Shira?
When does the first day of Succah start?
What are you asking about the Shira?
10 days after Yom Kippur.
50 days.
Oh no, 5 days after. Yeah.
I mean, the actual.
That's 60 days.
Good night.
I think it's 15th of Tishrei this year.
Baruch Hashem. 15th of Tishrei, you sure?
Usually.
I'm here.
About 10 out of 10 times.
Well,
You can see I brought a whole bag of topic.
I can't hear you. Hello?
A whole bag of topic.
Oh, thank you. Rabbi, I got to follow up, but there's a guy that I got that wants to join. I met him at Home Depot in the parking lot.
Yeah. Was he Jewish?
Yeah, he's
probably a first.
He's a licensed electrician, a from guy.
Is he going to fix roofs? He's going to fix roofs?
No. Only electrical.
The belly in the summer, all the guys eat together in shul. In Bar Park. Bestelti suppers with oil. I'm sitting there, it's Rav night. Come out every single night. I have another person, middle-aged, younger person, old people. Oh, this pesti still goes with the cab. This pesti. So, and I'm surprised. Chassidish middle-aged people, they follow you every single day they listen to Shira.
Yeah, but they don't like to show themselves. They're very embarrassed. It's still
Torah anytime, every day.
Taboo for them to watch the Shira.
No.
Where was
They
Nafi
watch
today by this?
They watch it middle of the day. Torah anytime, middle of the day, whenever.
Right.
I'm surprised.
You know how many times in Muncie the guys came over to me. I watch your shit. Don't tell anybody.
They don't want to admit that they have internet.
You know, the other Megiddo very good Megiddo. Why would they listen to you? That's my question. I asked them. For what? For alle Mensch, the guy is very unconventional and nicht kein normaler Mensch. Yeah? So why are you listening to him? Why? Geschmack. And it tells me,
just like the song says.
They overleave the builders. What's my instead?
They say the
Das ist der Geschmack von der Jetzehure. Das ist der Geschmack von der Jetzehure.
2-minute warning.
Does anybody know who Jared Kushner is? We had Jared Kushner on here.
Yeah,
is it him?
I love you.
Oh, he's here. Jared Kushner, good morning.
He's still here. Is that you, Jared?
Yep.
Boker Tov,
Moshe
Jared.
Weiss from Cleveland. Is that who it is? Moshe Weiss from Cleveland?
Is it?
What?
Is it?
You want to hear something incredible? I'm not going to say this in cheer. Yesterday, a guy I've never seen in my life. He's never been on Zoom. He says he's been with the Shira on YouTube for 3 years. Whoa. 3 years. He walked over to me.